Xbox came direct while Microsoft shuffled the board. Happy Friday, friends. It is Friday. Somehow we are in the back half of January, and it's hard to believe that we are almost 1/12 of the way through 2025. I will say it probably 51 more times this year that I don't know how time is moving so quickly, and yet here we are. And there's a lot to talk about. Xbox had the Direct. There's some new Surface hardware coming, so let's just dive into the tech news, my friends. Hopefully you had a wonderful week, and here we go. Microsoft shipped a new build of a Windows 11 24H2 to the release preview ring. Now, the reason why I call this one out, unlike some of the other builds, is that Microsoft is including a feature in this, or an update or an enhancement, I don't want to know how you want to call it, to the thumbnails for when you hover over them on the taskbar. Now, this feature, if you want to call it that, never showed up in Canary or Dev. It went right to beta, and I know this because it caused them a few headaches for Start 11 V2. It's all patched and good and ready to go, but we follow these features very carefully, and when they don't follow the traditional channel of like starting in maybe Dev, it's not always in Canary, but they didn't flow through the traditional channel. So I'm curious if this means that Microsoft's going to be trying to shoving something more out the door here on the taskbar, and that's why they had to make these changes. And we all know that if they're making taskbar changes, it's probably related to Copilot or AI in some capacity. I don't really know, other than this is in release preview, which means it should be hitting everybody in the general population here relatively in the near future. So just sort of keep that in mind. Now, Microsoft is making some changes to how they do accounts. It doesn't sound like a big deal on the surface, but then you kind of got to just think about this for a second. So when you log into a website, there's previously a button that's like, hey, do you want to stay signed in? Microsoft's going to start forcing you just to stay signed in. Now, they're probably going to push this under like, oh, it just makes things more seamless, more fluid, and just a better user experience on having to log in. We'll just remember, we can do that securely, which I mean is all technically true. But I do kind of wonder if they're doing this to be able to track you like as you move from website to website or something. I don't know, and that's speculation at best. Maybe it is. They're just trying to make it more seamless experience. But I suspect that there's some sort of other motive that's going on here that we're just not quite aware of. You still can log out. It's just that you will automatically stay logged in going forward. So just sort of keep that in mind as you log in and out of websites here, starting on the Microsoft side in February. So there you go. There's some big changes happening with OpenAI and Microsoft. Now, as you remember, these two are quote unquote bedfellows at the end of the day, where Microsoft gives them a whole bunch of stuff and OpenAI gives them models and AI and whatever stuff. Prior to this announcement, if you will, OpenAI had to use exclusively Microsoft data centers. Now that agreement is changing to where sounds like OpenAI can now build their own data centers. Now it's supposed to be only for research and R&D, not to sell direct to public. But this is OpenAI starting to build their own dedicated data centers. Now, part of the reasoning is that supposedly they're running out of capacity, or they're having trouble just getting everything they need from all the Microsoft stuff. Because you got to remember, Microsoft also has to serve the other billions of people that are using their products and everything else, not just AI stuff. So that's sort of the cover of it. Then Satya went on his little CNBC talk shows and everything else and said, look, nothing's really changing, guys. We're still great friends, blah, 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 blah. We're still the only place you can buy their exclusive use of their APIs. They're still mostly running on Azure and that sort of stuff. It's just notable because Microsoft has dumped so much money and bet so much on OpenAI. To see them doing something that's not exclusively Microsoft going forward, it's worthwhile. It is absolutely worthwhile. There's a new report out from Zach Bowden that says Microsoft is working on smaller Surfaces, Surface Pro and Surface Laptop with a Snapdragon X. That is a fact. And so it looks like we might be seeing those here this spring as they continue to refresh things. Although I don't expect Microsoft to start doing anything sort of crazy anymore, like the Surface Studios and that stuff. It sounds like in these guys, like this stuff, the Duo and that, I think it's a thing of the past, and yeah, I think that's it. There's been a lot of deck chair shuffling, and maybe not any deck chair shuffling. Maybe it's more like deck chairs off the side of the Titanic leaving the company, right? Christopher Young, the executive vice president of business development at Microsoft, has resigned. And I've also been hearing that other executives have been pushed overboard, or whatever you want to call it, left the company, as I splice all this in with a phone call that interrupted the podcast recording, which is, that explains that little splice there. However, I don't know if Microsoft is doing some crazy reshuffling here. I don't know of any company that's investing more in AI right now. Microsoft, I think they said they're going to spend $80 billion in CapEx expenditures. I think Scott Guthrie might be leading that for the fiscal year, the next year ahead, something like that. Which, here's the crazy thing about that. $80 billion is also what they spent roughly on Activision, or on, not Activision, but Xbox Title Studios acquisition. So, yeah, it's a lot of money. But they're like just throwing around 80 billion. Like, just, we'll just go do that. It's insane. It's insane how much money they actually have and can do and commit to these sort of things. So there you go. Microsoft 365 Admin Center will soon require multi-factor authentication. I'm surprised it did not need that until now. And LinkedIn was allegedly sharing private messages of premium users for training AI models. If it's on the internet, you don't own it, you don't control it. Just assume that it's going to be fed into something else. I mean, there's no other way to describe this. And hot tip from yours truly, although this is sort of an accidental discovery. Microsoft has deprecated the thesaurus in Word. Now, I wrote depreciated in my tweet, if you're watching on the video side, as a sort of pun joke, but it didn't go over so well. But whatever, I didn't delete it. Because you got to stand by what you say or whatever. I don't know, something like that. Whatever. And this isn't everything, but if you have a corporate account that has Copilot and you double click on a word and you right click, or you highlight a word, right click, you could previously go down to synonyms. That is gone. If you do it on the web, it actually does a little flag and says, this feature has been deprecated. And you got to use Copilot. And so rather than getting just a nice clean list of words that are synonyms, you now have to kill a couple rainforest trees running a query on an LLM for no reason other than Microsoft wants to boost their Copilot usage among everybody at the end of the day. I don't know. Like, it's a thesaurus, Microsoft. Give it to us. Now, hilariously, it's still on Mac, I think, just fine. And some people, the thing is, on the desktop app, it's like completely gone. On the web version, you can see it, but just doesn't let you click it anymore. It's like, come on, guys. Like, I know you want us using Copilot, and Copilot does a lot of great, wonderful things. I'm no doubt about it. But give us a thesaurus back. Like, you don't need a large language model for a thesaurus. It's dumb. That is dumb. So anyways, here we are. On to the gaming news. So Xbox had their developer direct, and I think they did a pretty darn good job. They gave us dates, they gave us things, they gave us Ninja Gaiden. So Ninja Gaiden 4 was the surprise title that Microsoft or Xbox was teasing, and it will be coming in fall of 2025. But if you're saying, gosh darn it, Brad, I wish I could get more Ninja Gaiden today, there's good news, because Ninja Gaiden Black, or Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, I should say, is now available in Game Pass. So yeah, you can go play that exactly today. And then the other key dates are Doom Dark Ages coming May 15th, South of Midnight April 8th, Expedition 33 April 24th. Now, these are all like coming up, right? These are not like far out into the future. Xbox has a pretty darn good Q1/Q2 Game Pass lineup coming up, and it feels like the content pipeline is truly like just pumping out, right? We got, in no particular order, you got like Call of Duty, then you had Indiana Jones, and now you got these titles. So like there's a lot dropping into the Game Pass experience, which is great for Microsoft. This is what they probably pitched and dreamed about. The question is, can they keep the momentum and keep the sustainability of dropping these big titles every quarter, which is what they intend to do, or at least that was the original pitch when they went out and bought all these things. And so we'll see, but it's a good time to be into Game Pass. It should hopefully help keep numbers high, which, by the way, on January 29th is when Xbox/Microsoft will be doing earnings, and fingers crossed we don't get some stupid thing like where it says like, oh, we have most number of Game Pass subscribers in our history, without actually giving us the number. So they better come forward with this. So hopefully, fingers crossed. Now, that doesn't even, I'm leaving out a massive title. Somebody's probably screaming into their YouTube or podcast or whatever and saying, Brad, you didn't even talk about the one that's coming in February, because Avowed, do not forget, is also coming in mid-February. Depending on if you're willing to pay more, you might get a little earlier mid-February. Otherwise, you get it just mid-February. So just like, they've got a big content. I think Avowed should do pretty well. It's the title that I don't know a lot of people are looking forward to. So good job, Xbox, right? Also, good job, Xbox, sort of. They're announcing, or they're going to be releasing here, you can pre-order it today, the Pulse Cypher controller, or as the rest of the world would call it, the Red Cypher controller, is going to cost you $75 dues. And it's also the last one. They're not doing any more of this Cypher series, which is really annoying because they never did an Xbox Green. Like, they never did the green one. That I don't know why. I don't know why they never did an Xbox Green one. Maybe they forgot. I don't know. But whatever. That is it. So anyways, Xbox is also, by the way, adding larger storage capacities. So it was previously limited to, 16 gigs. And now, or 16 terabytes. 16 gigs would be absolutely nothing. What am I saying? It was limited to 16 terabytes, and now you can use drives larger than the 16 terabytes. The problem still persists, though, that they're not velocity drives. And so, like, you're not getting more than that for storage, or for games that you can play directly off the drive. Whatever, it does make it faster than downloading, and for some titles it will work. But either way, that is happening as well. And one last thing, so this headline has been floating around, and I'm not calling out this particular publication because it went crazy on X, Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, all the things. It says PS5 Pro surprisingly loses the Xbox Series X and HDMI bandwidth test. This is like the epitome of a nothing burger. Yeah, technically the Xbox Series X has a better HDMI connection to your TV than the PS5 Pro. That is a fact, and it's not really disputable. Like it's a fact. You can look at the specs. It's very clear. However, you will only see this in extremely limited scenarios. I think you have to be running at 120 frames per second at 4K, which how many titles can do that? And then there might be some like chroma fringing or something like that in the chroma layer. Subsampling, it doesn't matter. Nobody in their right mind will be able to tell the difference, and it's like it's a nothing burger. So it's not worth like dying on that hill. So, all right, a bunch of questions in the hopper. Mr. PKI, Rafiq, a bunch of people dropping questions. So always my favorite part. Let's dive in to my friends. Mr. PKI kicking it off with a double dose as he likes to do. He says, there seems to be a few notable executive departures this week. Any insight to what might be occurring? So this goes back, like, things are changing in Microsoft, like, and these are big changes. I know we've been like, well, yeah, they're doing AI, Brad, obviously a big, like this, like Satya, for better, for worse, for whatever you think, he is aligning the company up to this AI wave, and he's tossing like $80 billion, like billions upon billions. It's probably more than 80 billion at this point, because that's what they're going to spend this year. Doesn't even include what the 10 billion they put into OpenAI. So we could easily say over $100 billion into AI. The question becomes, like, when's it going to start paying the bills? And so Microsoft is like aligning in that direction. And if your org doesn't really fall into something that aligns to what the CEO believes is the next big thing, I don't even know if we want to say the next big thing. I would say it's probably like the current big trend, correct? Like next big thing would be like quantum if they get that working. But that's not something that's really sellable today, as opposed to AI services, which absolutely are. So I think a lot of this aligns to that. And so we'll have to wait and see. Mr. PK, he's calling me out. He says, have you finished Indiana Jones yet? It's a great game, but with the cutscenes, it takes a while. I am like 3/4 of the way through the game now at this point, I think. I don't know when the exact end is. I need to finish it before Doom. I should say I need to finish it before Avowed comes out. But like the next big title I am looking forward to is Doom, right? Doom doesn't have multiplayer, which is a little frustrating. It's a single player title. I was hoping there'd be some like classic Doom deathmatch style, like sort of gameplay, but it's a single player only. So we'll wait and see. I mean, I've enjoyed Indiana Jones. I've been walking on the treadmill, getting my steps and mileage in. But I have not finished yet. It is a good title, but you are correct. The cutscenes are bountiful. They are bountiful. Man, I'm really looking forward to Doom, though. Doom, like Indiana Jones, I like. Like, don't get me wrong, I like Indiana Jones, but like Doom is my. That's you know what I mean? Like that's it. That's the title. That fits exactly. Like draw up a game that Brad Sams might like, and it is Doom. Other than Call of Duty. It is Doom. Like, right, run around, blow monsters' heads off, ride dragons, like just that is Doom. And that is me. So, Rafiq with a triple sprinkling of questions. He says, what did you think of Developer Direct? I know the best game show might be I promise you I did not read this before. I just said that. I know the best game of the show might be Doom for you, but what is the game you're most excited for in 2025 overall? Well, this is I don't even want to say this because it's Call of Duty, because I'm hoping they fix what they've broken in Call of Duty Warzone in 2024, because the game is very hard to play on multiplayer right now. Warzone, for that matter. Prop Hunt, by the way, is probably my favorite thing being added to Call of Duty in recent time. I know it's not completely new, but Prop Hunt is very legit. Do you think Microsoft should buy TikTok US? There were rumors about this way before. Is it going to be good? I don't think they should. I don't think Microsoft should. I think they should back away, put their hands up in the air and say, we're going AI corporate stuff, leave us away, get us away from the social media networks. I do not think Microsoft should buy TikTok. I know there were rumors like last time this came up, but no, I don't think they should. And then he says, why doesn't Microsoft expand into music, films, and TV show industry by releasing subscription services for the music and entertainment in the space? Is this space already closed, and should they buy Spotify or Netflix to do that? They did. Remember, they had Xbox Music. There's films and TV in the store. They just never took off. That was the peak of Microsoft. Zune. You go back to the Zune days. Microsoft tried this. That was back at the height of their like, we're going to do everything Apple does because we think we can also do it. But turns out they really can't. And so they already tried. Should they buy Spotify or Netflix? I think that falls into the same category of TikTok. I don't think they should. I don't think it makes any sense. TikTok's market cap just passed like 400 billion. So that would be a lot of dollar dues to snatch up Netflix. And then unless Microsoft is trying to become like a consumer services company, which I don't think they are. Remember, they've already tried that. I don't think it makes sense. I don't think it makes sense. Codgart dropping a question. He says, it's RTS Fest on Steam this week. I'm curious how your game, Sins of a Solar Empire 2, yes, Stardock makes Sins of a Solar Empire 2. For clarity's sake, I am not on that team, but I sit in many meetings where they are. Is currently performing on Steam. As an indie developer myself, I'm also wondering about your perspective on developing games for Xbox. What's the incentive for indie devs to focus on the platform? With Xbox leading heavily to publishing third party, what makes it worthwhile to put in the effort to create a game specifically for Xbox? So Sins of a Solar Empire 2 doing wonderfully well. That is the only way to look at it. You can go check the Steam charts when the game launched. It was the number one game in the world for a while, not for several days. I don't know exactly the number metrics, but it did very well for the company and has allowed us to do more things that will be coming down the pipeline in the future is what I will say. But that's like a given, right? Your company does well in a thing, you invest in more to make more things. And so that's exactly where we're at. And so it continues to do well. The team is pumping out updates all the time. And so I highly recommend anybody who likes RTS style games to go check it out. I mean, that's, with the caveat I work there. So keep that. He says, what is the incentive for indie devs to focus on that platform, meaning Xbox? Typically it's money. A lot of times these days, Microsoft will go to developers and say, like, look, can you bring your title to Xbox and we'll help cover the cost and give you a little extra for it. And so that's typically it. Now, more recently, I guess that's maybe like an old way of thinking. I think the more recent model is like, hey, bring your stuff to Game Pass, not necessarily the Xbox platform, but that's like what they realistically mean. It's like, look, put it on Game Pass. We'll do whatever it makes sense to get you guys onto Game Pass, promotion, money, whatever. I don't know. There's a million different ways you can slice an apple to get people to do that. And so I think there's a various number of reasons. Like, right, if you think that the promotional efforts of Xbox pushing your game are worthwhile and you don't need any extra dollars, and like whatever that agreement shakes out to be could be a very thing. Some people might just say, just pay us for the effort and some extra. And so that way we can start off on the right foot this generation. There's a lot of different reasons why people would bring things to Xbox. Most of them involve money. And Sydney 2K dropping in the last question of the week. He says, hey, Brad. Oh, this is wonderful too. How much credence is it credence or credence? I think it's credence. Do you put into that 200 plus page analyst report that suggests that Grand Theft Auto will hit a retail price of $100 dues and that other publishers should follow suit? So first off, I have not seen this report. But anytime you see 200 pages, is that what it was? 200 plus pages and analyst. They were just trying, to me, that feels like they were trying to justify this massive report. 200 pages, nobody's reading that. Nobody. Doesn't matter. Ignoring all that, can GTA 6 support $100 launch price? Yes. Now here's the thing. I'm going to tell you right now. There's a Doom bundle. I think it's $200. So the idea that can a game support $100+ launch title, of all titles to do this, GTA 6 is probably the one that might be able to get away with it. However, all of these titles are $100 games anyways, right? You look at, like, there's the launch price, then there's the bundles, and then there's all the other junk, the other skins and cosmetics and weapons and upgrades and map packs and whatever else. Spending $100 on that title these days is not all that uncommon. Yeah, an indie game that launched for $20 definitely maybe not getting $100 out of the life cycle. The LTV sometimes we refer to as the customer. the lifetime value of their whatever playing the title. $100 for GTA 6, I think it's plausible. I don't think it will be the only SKU. See, I think that the report is really saying, from my understanding of what I've read of the 200-page dissertation, is that the base price should be $100. That there's a psychological barrier to 3-digit pricing for video games. Like, they've struggled to get away from $60. The problem that they will face by doing this, it's not that the title can't support it. Building these games is expensive, right? They're hundreds of millions of dollars to build out this stuff. So charging $100 for it seems reasonable. However, they are going to get slaughtered in the headlines by every publication. It's like, look, GTA 6 setting the new benchmark, $100 games, that's the new norm going forward. And that will start them off in a valley. That is tough to overcome, not just because it's not worth it, but because of the parents who are sitting there saying, I just bought him a $600 console or a $500 console, and games now are $100 a piece. I'm not buying them the next one. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's a psychological thing to do that. So I fully expect them to be in like the $70, $69, $70 price range. And then there's going to be SKUs out the butt that will range way above there. And there will be in content sort of upgrades and other sort of things over the life cycle of the application, or the game, I should say, that would, blow past that $100. Obviously, Rockstar is investing a ton into GTA 6. And so Mr. PK, I guess technically with the last question is, Brad, do you play GTA? Yes, I've played it. It's not something I play a ton, but I mean, I think everybody's played GTA probably at some point. I mean, I still remember like the top-down versions. And so that's where it all started. And then, yeah, GTA 5 has lived a life. So I think we're all waiting for GTA 6. This stuff leaked a long time ago. Remember, it looked pretty polished, so I think the expectations are pretty high at this point for the product, and I hope it does well. Like, the question of should game developers be able to charge $100 for the game? The game developers can charge whatever they want. They absolutely can. They can do what the Doom $200. Now, granted, you get like a literal sword or something with that, so it's not just the title anymore. Games are expensive. And so one of two things has to happen. Either developers have to make it worth their while, right? Like, when a company builds a game, yeah, they're building the game to make it great, but they're also trying to make money. And so if developers, especially like the EAs, the Rockstars, don't think they can make money building a title, they just won't. I mean, Sony announced they were canceling a bunch of live service. Did they announce it, or was it leaked, or was it in their not court documents, like earnings documents? I'm not sure where that information came from, but it's like live service titles getting canned because, like, hey, like, they're not just going to build them to feel good. Like, they're trying to make money out of these things. And so developers can charge whatever they want. Whether or not they can survive charging that price is a different story. So there you go. That was a long answer. That was a long answer. Long answer to what felt like a crazy quick week. Anyways, my friends, that wraps it up. I don't know. I got nothing else. Hopefully you had a wonderful week. Make sure to keep it subscribed here, because the only BS on this channel is me.